Hello and welcome to another Harsh Noise Gear review where we are asking what is modular, what is semi-modular, and what is the meaning of synthesis? No, we're not actually asking what is the meaning of synthesis. We're going to be exploring today in this video, we're going to be exploring what modular and Euro-rack synthesizers are, how they're used, what semi-modular synthesizers are, how they're used, and then we're going to be exploring what control voltage is, how it's used, and then I'm going to go over the modular and semi-modular gear that I have here today and tell you why I built these two specific small Eurorack modular cases, what the other synthesizers are, and then we're going to build them all, we're going to connect them all together to make some musical rhythmic patches maybe, but mostly we're here to make noise patches and learn how this stuff relates to making harsh noise. Yeah. So first I want to dive into just what is modular and semi-modular and what that means, as opposed to like using guitar pedals and other music gear. Now, modular synths and modular gear is it's all about control voltage and sending voltages and audio into each other to communicate in an electric way. Now, this communication is known as control voltage, or CV. And if you look here, I've got an LFO, a low frequency oscillator, running into this cable. Now, this cable is a great little tool because it's like a 1-bit oscilloscope. It lights up red for negative voltage and green for positive voltage, or the opposite on the end of the cable. I'm going to be using these cables a lot to kind of demonstrate a few things, and you can see pretty clearly the signal flow. Now, in order to explain what modular is, I'm going to show you a module and a modular case. This is basically a rat pedal clone in CV modular form, in a modular Eurorack form. This is a Eurorack case. This is 20 HP wide. It's just horizontal pitch. It's just like how wide a module is. This module is 4 HP wide, and it doesn't fit in this case because this case is very shallow and this is a very deep module. Physically, it just doesn't fit, which is why I have these off to the side just to demonstrate. So this case here, it has racks, it has little connectors on the inside that you connect the cable to, and then you connect this to a power cable, like I've got on these and on this one. This case right here is empty, but I do have a very similar one right here that is powered and full. This one is 40 HP wide. This one is 34 HP wide, and this one is 20 HP wide. I also have this case here, which is 44 HP wide. And then technically, the East Beast is Eurorack. It is the same size as modular stuff. It is 3U tall. There's all these terminologies like HP and U, but really it's just for standardizing different music technology to fit in the same kind of case together. That's mostly what Eurorack or modular is 5-inch tall stuff that is like 5 inches tall and divisions of 0.2 inches wide. It's just modules that fit into cases, and there's all sorts of different cases. I have 3 little cases here, but a lot of people like to get bigger cases that have 2 rows of modules, or maybe with like 1U little module tiles in between. Some cases have features built in or keyboards. Mine don't. This is just a simple 4MS case, and this is a custom wooden case. And this is another 4MS case. This case, excuse me, this case for the East Beast, it comes with the East Beast, but it can be rack mounted into any Euro rack that is 3U tall. There's 3 kinds of modules. I only have 3U modules. 3U is the height. There's also 1U, which is a third, and 5U, which is even taller. And 5U are used in like vintage synthesizer modules like Moog walls. 3U is most common for Eurorack modules and modular synths. That's what you're going to find most of the time. There's also the 1U little ones, which are becoming more popular, but I don't have any of those. So that's kind of like modular is kind of just a catch-all term for music technology that is 5 inches tall, has a standardized pin on the back for power, and can slot into a modular or Eurorack casing. And each module is kind of its own, think of it as its own guitar pedal. Each module does a function, whether it be fuzz or delay or whatever. Each module has a function. They are all connected in the back via power, but they are not connected in the front in any way until you connect them yourself using cables. So all these little individual modules I have in here that are different widths are all not connected in the front. You have to connect them yourself. They're all connected in the back just for power, not for functionality or any other voltages or technology. So in each of these I have multiple different functions. Same within each of these, the semi-modular synths. Now, semi-modular, what that means is 2 things. One, that some things are connected in the back. There are normaled connections or like default connections. And the other thing that semi-modular means is that it probably has some sort of, it has a bunch of modules within it that are normal together, but it also means that there's probably some sort of interface other than knobs. Not necessarily. You can have a semi-modular synth that is just knobs and a patch bay. Why not? A lot of them have MIDI output, so you can connect your own keyboard if you want to do that. Taking a look at this semi-modular synth really quick. It's off screen, but I've done a whole review of it. This is the Mini Brute 2. It has a bunch of different parts in it that could be composed of modules, but they're all kind of built into one synthesizer, and then they have their normal connections defaulted in the back. But then you can overwrite the connections by connecting new cables from output to input on the patch bay in order to overwrite those default connections, thus kind of using each individual section of the synth as its own module. So the East Beast is really simple and easy to look at because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a secret 6th module plus a sequencer. It has an oscillator module, a filter module, people are probably going to get mad at me for calling these modules because they're not modules, they're just like synth parts. But so there's an oscillator, there's a filter, there's an envelope, there's an amplifier, there's an LFO, and then there's a hidden multi-LFO and a sequencer with keyboard. And you can reconnect, like the way Eurorack modular would do something like this would be you have an oscillator module, a filter module, an envelope module, a VCA amplifier module, and an LFO module, and they would all be separate and you'd all have to connect them up to the front. But this one has normal connections in the back, such as the LFO is FM'd to the pitch. And that the filter mod is normal to the envelope. example, and then everything's hardwired to come out of the amplifier. Those are just some example connections. But we can overwrite those connections. Like we can take this LFO that's right here, right? This is the positive and negative current that's coming out. And instead of having the envelope affect the filter, we can have this LFO affect the filter. Yeah, pretty simple. Pretty easy. And so that kind of covers like what is modular and what is semi-modular, and they all send either control voltage or audio. And control voltage and audio are the same thing. You see how in the oscilloscopes off to the side of the screen, you've got like it goes positive and negative in the sound. That's because audio is positive and negative signal. And just like some LFOs can be bipolar, which means they go up only, positive only, or they're unipolar, they're positive only, or bipolar, they are positive and negative, and it swings. And I'll show you an example using this thing. So let's go to here we have an entirely positive. But now, if you see, I'll switch it to bipolar, and it becomes two colors. Yeah, it swings from positive to negative. Otherwise, it just stays positive. And what this means is, what is the difference between positive and negative signal? Well, you can pull signals up or down using control voltage. So let's take a look at this positive negative, and we're going to put it on the filter like we were doing here. So this is unipolar. It is just positive. Let's switch it to bipolar. Hear how it pulls the sound down? Pulls the filter down as opposed to just keeping it up. Let's do a more dramatic one. So we got the pitch. Let's make it lower by making it bipolar. And you can hear it goes so low it almost turns off. Let's make it slower. Bipolar. Unipolar. Unipolar you can hear is higher pitched. So that's a little example of the difference between bipolar and unipolar and positive and negative signal. You can send, here's another good example. This is just creates voltage, so I can go positive or negative. See that? Positive or negative. And this can change the default signal. So let's put it into our pitch. As you can hear, I've pulled the oscillator way down low with this negative CV. And I can pull it back up to where it's normal, and then all the way up there with positive CV. I hope that has been a good explanation of how control voltage works, because it is kind of a hard concept to visualize, but luckily I have these light up cables and you can hear its effect on the pitch and the filter. So control voltage is kind of like, okay, as much as I hate to reuse the terminology, it's like the invisible hands turning a knob. So like what this is doing is, if I put it into filter mod, right now I was using a knob, But like an LFO, for example, is like an invisible hand moving the knob for me. See what I mean? And control voltage is kind of used to manipulate other sounds. The thing with control voltage and audio is they are identical. Audio is a positive and negative sound going very quickly. Like, for example, let's listen to this oscillator right here. So I can speed it up and slow it down. This is with the mini brute. I'm reaching off screen to grab that oscillator knob. And let's hear what it sounds like. I'm going to plug in just the LFO so you can hear the LFO. You can kind of hear it. Let's make it faster though. Yeah, you can definitely hear it there. And currently it's on a sine wave, so it's kind of hard to hear, but if we changed it to... This is a ramp, so you can hear where it clicks. And let's turn it to a square. You can hear where it clicks up and down. And the proof that CV and audio are the same is, well, you turn an oscillator that's an LFO high enough, you get tones, you get musical tones, you get audio. You turn an oscillator high enough, you get audio. Low enough, it's referred to as a LFO, a low frequency oscillator. But the secret is they are identical, and they can be used in various ways. So let's take a look at this oscillator here. Now this is an LFO that is connected to VCO2. Let's give it a listen. But let's run that into our pitch. No, our linear FM. I kind of just wanted to do a noise demonstration of using an LFO all the way from LFO range all the way up to audio range. And I hope a lot of what I've been demonstrating has been clear on the oscilloscopes on the side of the screen. I can't see them when I'm recording this video, but I know they're there and I know they're doing their job. So hopefully that's been providing some illustrative information as well. Let's continue. So we have our different types of stuff, and they can communicate to each other in different ways. And in general, you're either sending control voltage or you're sending audio. And there's ins and outs. You plug the outs into the ins, and you don't plug the outs into the outs or the ins into the ins. It can hurt your gear if you're sending a hot enough signal to the wrong place. But usually you're probably fine. It's just not going to result in anything. But try to keep your outs into ins only. Luckily, most gear is all labeled pretty clearly. Like the East Beast, the left two columns are ins and the right two columns are outs, and they have different color text. On the Mini Brute, there's different color text outlining which is an out, which is an in. And on the other gear, it's similar. I want to kind of, at this point, go over what my two cases are and why I built them, because I've kind of covered what the East Beast does and what the Mini Brute 2 does in previous reviews. I also kind of just talked about them right now, but I haven't really covered what I call the Prayer Box and the Juno Helper. Now, I wanted to get into modular, and there was some cool modules, but I didn't really want to build a giant rack because I had a bunch of synthesizers, and I already didn't. I had gear acquisition syndrome, but only for like very small things, and it helped because I made these very purpose-built. Because, like, modular, yeah, you can get a huge rack and you can just start collecting cool, nifty things and hooking them together and making all sorts of weird sounds. And that's great and cool, but that I don't think was for me. And also, my income is not as disposable, even though, yeah, I got a bunch of synths. I'm still paying this one off. I didn't have the money or the space to get a huge rack, so I wanted to build little ones with specific purposes. Now, the advantage of building a specific purpose-built thing is you're a lot more... It becomes more of a self-contained instrument than it does a giant workstation studio piece. Now, this one here, the Prayer Box, has... I'm going to go over quickly what each of the modules are and then how I use it. We have a power module, which provides power. We have the Doepfer A119, which is an envelope follower external input. I have a contact mic from the back bottom inside of the box, connected through this cable into its input, but I can put anything else I want in there. Currently, let's just keep that contact mic in there, because look, you can see me tapping and speaking on it on the lights. What this does is this takes an audio input, either a microphone or an external synth or whatever, your guitar, I don't play that, but takes whatever and it puts it in, and then it gives it gain and also creates an envelope follower. And what an envelope follower is similar to a regular envelope. Now let's take a look at a regular envelope. A regular envelope looks like this. And it kind of fades. And it kind of fades. The envelope follower is based on the signal. It's a smooth control voltage signal based on the audio that goes in here. So if I tap on this, you can see that it creates... The little taps create like a little bit of light, but the big taps create a lot of light because it's creating a smooth control voltage signal based on the audio in here. And the difference, why would you want to use that when you could just use the audio itself? Well, the audio itself is more random and not as smooth and controlled as the control voltage envelope. This thing also has a gate out so that when you reach a certain volume, you set the threshold here, it then sends a gate, like that bottom signal right there. Yeah, and a gate signal is a 5 volt on, 5 volt off. It is just a quick signal, and gate signals are really common in control voltage. That's what that's sending out right there. Let's take a look. This is a gate that is being sent out via the Maestro, and this is a clock. Now, a clock is just a rhythmic gate, a gate that occurs at a regular interval. And clocks are used in rhythmic noise generation. Gates are used to trigger all sorts of different things. And what's really cool is if you don't have a gate, and if you don't have an envelope follower with a comparator built in that creates a gate with a threshold knob, you can just run a microphone into a lot of gain or fuzz or distortion and hit it, and it'll create a gate and will trigger stuff. I've done it before. You can run I've ran a shaker box directly into a fuzz pedal, directly into a trigger for a synthesizer, and if you hit it hard enough, it will trigger it. Let's take a look here. So let's take a look into the the clock in, we're going to change our clock source, start our sequencer, and then now we have tapping this hooked up to triggering that synth. So we can turn anything. So this is just using an actual clock. But we can run like a microphone into this, and if it might not be strong enough, but if you run it through something that gives it enough gain, then it will be. That's an important thing to mention that I should have mentioned earlier when talking about modular, is modular CV is always at max volume. It is at max, like, amplitude. It is always going to be really loud and really hot. Usually modular stuff has modular racks usually will include an output module that converts the super loud modular synth sound down to a line level or instrument level, ideally line level audio. But we're going to be ignoring some of that and messing with it, because one of the great things about noise is that, as I said, and noise and modular, is that CV and audio are interchangeable. So with enough gain, like I bring up the Super Fuzz again because it has a really good clean overdrive, a clean boost. And it really just like boosts things up to modular level and allows them to interact well. Otherwise, sometimes I can use this and just give it a bunch of gain in the right channels and it'll work. But, okay, where was I? I was going over this box. So we have the Adobe for A119, then I have a mult, and a mult is just it's like a splitter, but it's a powered splitter. So one signal goes in, 6 signals go out. But if you just use a passive mult, like such as like one of these, which has, you put a cable in and then 3 cables come out, it loses signal because the signal splits itself between all of the outputs, so it loses strength and sometimes can lose other things, which is why it's best to have at least one buffed mult, a powered multiplier. So you can put this one, you can put 1 thing in and have 6 things out, or 2 things in and have 3 different things out, or 2 sections of 3 different things out. Then I have an attenuverter, and an attenuverter, literally, you plug in. Attenuverters are cool because you plug in signal. Let's just give it some strength there. That's a positive signal. And then you can take that signal, whatever it may be, and make it and adjust it. And you can adjust it negative or positive, and so you can invert signals pretty easily. And that's really useful for certain things. Sometimes things act better negative than they do positive, and that helps attenuate and attenuvert. Yeah, this is a amplifier attenuverter. So attenuate is just a fancy word for twisting a knob, and attenuvert is a knob that goes positive and negative. Then I have a Expert Sleeper's Mach 4 Disting Mach 4, which is a multifunction. Which what this does is it has like all these different algorithms in it. It's digital, and you can select different algorithms. They're alphabetical, and then usually X and Y are inputs, Z is an input for the knob, A and B are outputs, and so you kind of select your algorithm and plug your stuff in. You have to look it up on a reference. I look it up on my phone, and it provides a whole lot of functionality for different things that I might need. Then we have the Moth Hunter Mods Raz Kalido, which is it's kind of like a noise attenuator. You run stuff in, it doesn't, you run stuff in and it garbles the signal based on 4 LEDs, and then you run it out, and this attenuates how much the LEDs transfer the signal. It's really cool. It's really, like, the lights show is cool. It's a lot of fun. Like, let's... Yeah, see, you can attenuate the lights, and I'm just sending audio signal into that, and it does all sorts of nifty manipulations of the sound, but is a passive module, which is really cool in that it doesn't require power. Next up, I've got the Harsh Noise Wall Machine from Genthal's, and this is a it's a fuzz pedal that is also a noise generator, and it uses a bunch of different methods of no input noise and feedback noise within itself and with external patching to create all sorts of horrible sounds. This is a noise generator and fuzz. It has an audio input and 2 outs and a core out, left, right out, and a core out. It has a compressor, a filter, a panning, a wave shaper, and some feedback options and oscillator modes. Anywho, then we have the U-Burst, which is a Clouds clone. This is a clone of Clouds by Mutable Instruments. And Clouds is a reverb and delay, but it's a granular synthesizer. So it does granular delay and granular reverb, which means it can grab samples and kind of chop up that sample and rearrange and replay the sample in loops. It's pretty interesting, but I want to keep moving. Next up over here, the prayer box. As a whole, this thing is a self-contained performance piece with that's designed to modulate vocals and feedback and tapping and scraping, because it has the built-in contact mic, it has a fuzz pedal, it has a reverb and delay, so I often will run my vocal, I'll pray and speak into the box, the microphone picks it up, and it transfers it to the fuzz and the delay and reverb, and it has other effects that change it and warp it, and this I designed to be a self-contained performance piece with a bunch of noise features in it. Next up, the Juno Helper, which I designed to help my Juno 60, but it's also designed to do a bunch of other stuff. It has in it the Shackmat Knights Gallop, which takes a rhythmic clock, and then outputs. Let's get a faster clock here. You can see here it outputs either full rhythm or no rhythm. So basically this thing takes a clock and makes it into a clock pattern, which instead, so basically let's okay, so that's every clock, but then the Knight's Gallop divides it down. Yeah, you get it. Next up is that it also has a second output and kind of like can dance between the two, so you can have 2 different outputs. It's really good for drums, but I don't have like a drum module. I use it for triggering synthesizers. like that. Then there is the the Maestro, and the Maestro is fantastic for sending rhythmic clocks, or sorry, rhythmic clocked LFOs. So basically, you hook it up to your drum machine, and then it sends a beat, and then you can send LFOs. So check this out. Let's go to our filter mod. So now we can change the LFO. Right now it's a triangle. We can make it into a ramp. You can do all sorts of shapes with this thing. So it has 6 channels of outputs that output LFOs. You can mute them, you can change their timing, you can even input chains of patterns. So like this one. Has a chain programmed into it, and you can program sequences of complex LFOs into this to affect multiple different synth parameters, and it's all rhythmic based on the clock, internal or external, when you plug in a drum machine. So this I got for making really cool rhythmic synthwave and stuff like that. Next up, the Navigator, which is the Maestro's from Acid Rain Technology. The Navigator is also from Acid Rain Technology, and this is just an attenuator that is defaulted to create voltage. But it's also a little mixer, so you can plug in 2 signals and you can attenuate the first and attenuate with a slider the second, and it mixes the 2 signals based on how much you move the knob and the slider. I use this because this thing does not have built-in attenuators. Well, it does have built-in, but they're like programmable, not performable. Yeah. And this kind of does some things that this attenuate does, but a little fancier. Then I have a clock divider, which you send in a clock, and you can set it either at normal. This is similar to the Shackmat Knight's Gallop in that it takes a clock and either divides it or multiplies it based on division. So this is like divided by 16, this is divided by 8, this is divided by 4, divided by 3, divided by 2, normal. But this one outputs a clock every time. The Shackmat Knight's Gallop outputs clocks in rhythmic patterns. This one just outputs a clock either multiplied or divided. And this is also useful for creating rhythmic synthwave type stuff. As you can tell, this is my synthwave box for operating the clock and the filter control on my Juno 60 is what I built it for. But also, I can use it on a variety of other synthesizers I have in rhythmic musical ways, and that's what this box does. I wanted it to create complex clocks and LFOs for rhythmic synthwave. This box was for a noise performance piece. So, okay. Ooh boy, talked a lot. We covered modular, what is CV, what is semi-modular, what are my 4 things I have here, and how do I use them. Now I want to get into like I could hook this up and do like some rhythmic noise stuff. Let's do some rhythmic noise, because you can go on any YouTube video about the Maestro or the Knight's Gallop or the East Beast or the Mini Brute, and you can go on any review and you can find someone making cool synthesizer, techno, synthwave, stuff like that. I'm going to avoid doing that because, well, this is the Harsh Noise Gear review, and I'm going to be trying to demonstrate some noise things. So we're going to listen to the Harsh Noise Wall Machine, but we're going to affect it rhythmically with some LFOs. Let's give it a listen. So I've got stereo here. As you can hear, it is a Harsh Noise Wall Machine. But let's modulate it. So let's get like that rhythmic LFO. Sounds cool. Let's get another LFO. Let's just get a sine wave. Cool. Okay, let's get a let's get some more. What's this? Okay, random, bipolar. Okay, now I've just set them all to random sample and hold because it's fun, but so now I've just set them each LFO to random parameters, and it sounds really cool. Okay, let's hear the clouds. Let's do some like noise stuff with clouds. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our microphone from this, run it in. Testing. Blah, blah, blah. And what we can do is we can, because right now it just sounds like reverb, but let's yeah. And that's kind of just, clouds is very cool. Some people use it for pretty reverb, but I think it's much better for, in general, my favorite noise techniques are always, I kind of just want to, instead of going through and making a big patch at this point, because I've been talking for a bit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do individual module reviews of a few of these modules in a follow-up videos. But I kind of just wanted to make a what is modular, how does it work. If you have any questions, please comment and I'll try and get to them. I feel like this video, I could have done so many different things, but I really wanted to kind of show a little bit about everything, but that's so difficult. It's so difficult. Let me instead show you what using the harsh noise wall machine in a cloud sounds like. But what's really cool is I want to show the difference between CV and audio, the difference between CV and audio manipulation of something that is a little different. I'll show you. Let's get first a sound in here. Okay, so I have my sound stored in clouds. Let's change the pitch. So right now I'm using the envelope follower from this, and I've turned it down, but let's turn it up. So as you can see, when I talk or tap on it, it's a little higher pitched. But if I was to use the audio, it would go everywhere, splattered. It's kind of up and down and not as predictable as the smooth line of the envelope follower. Anywho, I think, honestly, that might be it for the video. I kind of just wanted to show a little bit about everything and kind of give preface for the next few videos, which are going to be reviewing individual modules. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great day.